everyone, Aimer back with another Mission Impossible episode review. This time we have moved on to Season 6, Episode 7, which is called Encounter. So this one starts out with some dudes breaking into Geary's chemical warehouse, with another group of guys waiting outside in a car. They blow open the lock and set the place ablaze, and in the car there's a discussion between Martin Stoner and Frank Brady about having a chat with Geary later that day, with Frank telling Martin to take along his muscle man Decker in case there's an issue. One of the arsonists apparently doesn't get out of the facility before it goes sky high. Jim gets his instructions in an office after some spy speak. The mission: you won't believe this, but the IMF must get evidence that conventional law enforcement agencies seem to be unable to get on Brady and Stoner and their protection racket and put them out of business. The IMF discusses that they'll need to use Martin's alcoholic and promiscuous wife Lois as part of their plan. Off we go, and Jim starts the mission by chatting up Lois in her favorite hangout. Casey studies Lois's voice and mannerisms, and Jim and Willie stage a mock fight where Willie gets knocked out. Well, that was unexpected. And takes Lois back to his room, to Jim's room, where Casey continues to watch her through a true two-way mirror, and then sets herself up with a Lois mask. Lois passes out, allowing the IMF to make the switch and take the real Lois to a facility to dry out. Casey, as Lois, shows up at Frank's office, annoying Frank, who can't stand her, telling Martin to get rid of her. Lois needles Martin about being a janitor who just cleans up all of Brady's messes and plants a bug in the office. Frank is about to get physical, forcing Martin to get Brady's man to take her home, and Frank worries that Lois is going to start yapping to the authorities. When Martin comes home, he smacks Lois and tells her she needs to fall in line. Lois says she's going to go to an institution called Cumberland to get straightened out, and he reluctantly agrees, telling Frank about it, who tells Decker to go there too to keep an eye on her. Jim gets an encounter group together as part of the plan with IMF associates, and through the bug they hear Frank's instructions, and Jim mentions that now they have to get Decker to try and kill Casey as Lois. Willie comes to Frank's office as a brother of the man who didn't make it out of that warehouse fire, angry that, he's lost his source of income. Frank's guy tries to get rid of him, but, it's Willie, so he gets a guy's gun and walks in. He tells Frank that his brother was sending money home. Frank pays him off and says he'll see if he can find some work for him. Martin does a little bit of digging and checks Willie out, and thanks to the IMF, his story is corroborated. The real Lois goes through withdrawal as Dr. Barney looks on, while Decker shows up and joins the encounter group with Casey as Lois and the others, and the first activity is to close your eyes and feel someone else's face. One guess, no prizes on who Decker matches up with. Casey says she doesn't like the feel of Decker's face, and when she opens her eyes, she leaves the room embarrassed. Later, there's more group therapy, and everyone is encouraged to really let loose about their feelings. And Casey, as Lois, starts talking about how Decker reminds her of the men who are around her husband, alerting Decker to start listening carefully. Brady's arsonists visit Willie and say that maybe he can help them out on the next job and earn some cash. Willie agrees. Willie lets Jim know that it's happening Friday night, so Casey, as Lois, says they need to hurry. Meanwhile, the real Lois continues to struggle at the sanitarium, begging Barney for some alcohol. The next group event is hand slapping, and Casey as Lois smacks Decker on the face for real. She starts talking about Martin, but says she can't bring herself to elaborate. Jim tells her to pretend that Martin is there, sitting on a chair, and let it all out. Decker listens very carefully as she starts talking about Martin in fairly general terms, but then starts mentioning that he works with killers and that she knows about Friday night, and that sets Decker off. And when she starts yelling at him, he smacks her hard and heads off. Decker returns to the office where Frank wonders how Lois knew about Friday night. Martin swears he didn't say anything. Frank tells Decker that the solution to their problem is obvious. Martin is unwilling to have Lois killed. He obviously still has feelings for her, but Frank orders Decker to do it. Jim and the other encounter group folks keep an eye on Decker, not realizing he brought along an accomplice who holds the old IMF encounter lady at gunpoint, forcing her to call Lois over for help. When Lois arrives, the old lady is able to knock over a lamp, distracting the assassin, who chases Casey as Lois. I'm sorry, I'm kind of interspersing that. Chases Casey into the woods and shoots her before Jim tackles him and knocks him out. Fortunately for Casey, the shot is in the shoulder and she's not too badly hurt, so she's taken to the IMF facility and says she's okay to continue with the mission. The real Lois cleverly knocks out the nurse and quietly slips out of the facility, avoiding Jim and Casey, who are leaving as well. Brady's guys come for Willie earlier than expected, so he's not able to warn Jim and has to head out with them, reestablishing the silent alarm after the other guys disable it, and then leaves the building where the bad guys are handily caught. Willie goes to Frank and tells him they were set up. The cops knew they were coming, and Frank and Decker obviously suspect Lois. And Martin must have told her something, so Frank tells Decker to take care of both of the stoners. Willie asks for the chance to take them out himself. He needs the money, and Frank agrees. The nurse tells Barney that Lois has left the facility, and Casey as Lois finds Martin in their parking garage, telling him about getting shot. Willie comes by and tosses a bomb near their car, but far enough away from it, so it puts on an impressive display but doesn't hurt them. Martin realizes that Brady is clearly behind it, and Casey tells him he needs some insurance, otherwise they're going to have to run forever. Martin heads off to do just that, leaving Casey behind in the garage. Willie reports to Frank that the stoners are dead, but Lois has already reached her favorite bar and calls Frank's office to talk to Martin. Martin goes to the bank to get a safety deposit box with a film containing information on all of Brady's accounts. Frank and Decker walk in, as do the IMF a little bit behind them. Decker shoots Martin and retrieves the film, but Jim is right on top of them and the cops drag everybody away. Barney finds Lois in the tavern, absolutely sloshed, and she asks him to help her. He just responds, "I will." Mission accomplished. I am going to give this episode an A+. If you, starting with the good, I mean, come on, you have to ask. If you watched the episode and if you've watched any of the reviews that I've done, you know exactly what I'm going to say. This episode is just 100% all about Elizabeth Ashley and her tremendous performance as Lois Stoner, and Casey as Lois Stoner, of course. I dare say that she is the best and certainly most, I'm trying to think of the right adjective to use. She is the most emotionally charged incidental character that there is on this show. The only one who I think even maybe comes close would be Gabby in Hunted, played by Tatanisha. She drives this episode, and the mission, the actual real mission, becomes almost secondary, and that happens almost right from the get-go. The first time we see Lois, that's how it feels to me. I read from the Mission Impossible dossier that this was really, Elizabeth Ashley apparently considers this to be a little bit of a turning point in a way for her career. She had gone through some rough times personally and professionally, and with this role, she was really able to sink her teeth into it and kind of, rejuvenate herself in her career, which is really, really great to see. That it fulfilled her personally. Everything about Lois, the character of Lois when she's on the screen, really, really is emotionally charged. Boy, Elizabeth actually took a fair bit of punishment in this one, didn't she? She got smacked by Lawrence Dane. She got smacked by William Smith. She goes through quite a bit in this one. But again, like I said, she came out on the other side better. I just can't say enough good about her. Also good, Lawrence Dane, we've seen him a couple of times already, and I've already mentioned that he's a fantastic actor. Again, just with his eyes and his face, he can convey so much. I like William Smith as Decker. We saw him recently in season 5 in A Ghost Story, where he played one of the guys in Bainbridge's private army. And in that one, I commented that he was basically turned into a complete schmuck. But here, he's allowed to play his role to the fullest, and I think he is excellent here. We'll see him again next season, and he's a really, really good addition to the show. Also, okay, Val Avery is Frank Brady. I don't know what it is about Val Avery. I don't always get the greatest vibe from him, especially on this show. Can't quite put my finger on it, but I just don't. He's just kind of okay here as Frank. Other things, I don't really quite know how the producers do it. To make a plot, it's supposed to be a mission to take down Frank Brady through Martin Stoner. And of course, they're going to use Lois Stoner, to bring down Martin Stoner and bring the whole thing toppling down. That's fine. But how they're able to write a story where the actual real honest to goodness mission seems almost secondary is just really surprising to me. And yet it's a better story. If they hadn't focused so much on Lois, this would have just been an ordinary episode. It would have been completely cookie cutter, I feel. But it's mesmerizing in a way, the way they are able to pull the story off. A couple of clever things about this plot. I like the way in the beginning that the IMF pulls the switcheroo, substituting Casey for Lois. That was quite neat. But that's the usual way that they do things. But the way that Lois kind of gets herself back in the picture was also kind of neat. How, Casey is brought in after getting shot, and that gives Lois the opportunity to escape. I thought that was really clever, kind of meshing those two things together, because, the IMF has this facility, and obviously if somebody gets hurt, that's where they're going to bring one of their own. So it makes sense, and I love it when things like that come together. I'm about the deal with the encounter and the group therapy. That's where the episode gets its name from. And I thought to myself when I was thinking about this, normally when we have this kind of stuff in an episode where, touchy-feely stuff, in some episodes it becomes like kind of like psychobabble and things like that. And I point those out, and I'll continue to point those out because that's going to continue to happen. Normally that is bad. Normally that is just padding. When there's not enough to fill an episode. But for some reason, I'll explain it. I thought to myself, why don't I dislike this? I love this. This is fun. And I said in the back of my head, normally I hate this. Why is this different? And then I thought about it and I said, you know why? I realized why. Because this is designed to be fake. This is not designed to work the Mark or the antagonists or anything like that. It's designed for a completely different purpose. It's supposed to be over the top. It's not there for, actual real therapeutic purposes, if you want to call it that, or for getting information. It's just to drive the plot so that the bad guys will put out a hit on Lois. That's what it's for. And because of that, because it's not something that we have to take seriously, we can just sit back and enjoy it. And I really did. It was an absolute hoot watching those encounter scenes where, you have these, these IMF people, like, the old lady and the African-American guy, kind of going at each other with some, underlying racial tones and stuff like that. Obviously, that sort of thing is not designed to be funny. But when it is so over the top and that it's not for real, it's really entertaining. I love that. The only reason that I would not put this episode up there as an S, I mentioned before when we were talking in season 5 about The Innocent that no other episode is going to get that. I don't really feel that any of these episodes in season 6 or season 7 can approach what we had over there. This one I was a little bit on the fence about, but I knew again in the back of my head that there's going to be a reason why I can't give this one an S. And the main reason as I was watching it is because of kind of the unbalanced teamwork. Barney doesn't have a lot to do in this episode at all. Linda Day George as Casey is basically a mask. We don't see her a whole heck of a lot. Mostly she's played by Elizabeth Ashley. And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but again, it's not one of those Power of 5, or I guess in this case we'd have to call it the Power of 4 episodes where, this would qualify as an S. A lot of the basic elements, the stuff outside the things directly involving Lois Stoner, are pretty formulaic. There's not really too much new ground covered in that. At its core, the stuff between Frank Brady and Martin Stoner is just your very, very basic separate and mislead plot. And again, nothing wrong with that, except when it's cookie cutter. And here it's absolutely not cookie cutter, as I've discussed. So I am definitely going to stick by my grade of A+ for this one, and I think I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you again. Thank you as always for watching. Always much appreciated. Please like this review video. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and please leave your comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this episode. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.